Hey everybody, Rock DIY here. You may have seen my previous videos about this plastic piece on the tailgate of my 2021 Ford F-150 Lariat. I've made adjustments, I've glued, I thought it was good, and then it ended up coming off multiple times. And I have not purchased a new one. This is the original one. I'm not going to buy a new one. I'm not going to buy an aftermarket one. I am now going to do what I hope is a permanent repair. What I'm going to be doing is riveting the plastic piece onto the metal piece. And so the tools that I got here are a drill, flat tip screwdriver, a little pick tool. I've got 1/8 diameter rivets with different grips being how deep the rivet head is. Got the rivet gun, extra battery, and then I've got drill bits. And before you decide to do this, make sure you know where you can actually stick rivets. The plastic is much bigger than the metal piece underneath as far as width and length. You can see it's about a quarter longer here, and it's almost an inch over here, and then it actually overlaps. There's a lip that goes over on the front side of it. You got multiple points where it attaches here and here. Mine has broken here and here, so these little nylon plugs don't even hold it on anymore. And then there are plastic pieces on the inside, or I should say there are plastic pieces on the underside. You can see how easily that has popped off. You can see this was glued previously, this was glued. This one's completely gone now. It was glued on. This one was glued on, it's still there. This one's glued on, it's still there. Now it's kind of just kind of sitting on there, not really staying on very well. And then here you can see all of the metal. You can actually see some rivets that are already in it. Those were there. But you do want to inspect it very carefully to make sure that wherever you're going to put rivets, that you can actually see where they're going on the back side, because in some cases it's so thick on the underside here, like right here. You probably can't see that, but right here is a very thick spot. There's a plastic piece underneath it. You might be able to put some up in here. As far as in the middle, yeah, it's kind of hard to do with one hand, or no hands. So there's some spots up under here that you have clear access to. There's some spots up in here that you might be able to drill without damaging anything, and then the same thing over here. And then wherever you decide to put rivets, just make sure it's not in the way of any moving parts. You definitely don't want to put here one there because of this for your handrail, and then you can't put anything on the outside. But you can put it off to the sides up in there. When you're looking at diameter, in my case I'm using, these are all 1/8. One is made by Arrow and another one is Storehouse. I think that's a Harbor Freight product, but all of these are 1/8 diameter. And then as far as grip, they're all different grips, and as I mentioned, the grips are how long, for example on here, how long this piece is right here that's actually going to grip onto the plastic piece and the metal piece. And you want to make sure it's right, because if you don't get it right, it may not serve any purpose whatsoever. So take into account the thickness of your plastic, and then also the thickness of the metal. And then for the diameter, you want to make sure you get the right size bit, and especially get a sharp bit so you're not dancing the bit all over the place. And then drill your holes, and just be careful not to plunge the bit in, because you could break something or break the bit. Something else is you could potentially pull the the rivet through the plastic if the grip isn't long enough. If it's too short, the bunched up head portion of it is going to be under the metal, so there shouldn't be an issue with that. But the head of the rivet, which would be right here once it's cut off, that could potentially pull through the plastic, which you don't want. So just make sure you have the right size. Unfortunately, you may have to experiment, but I'm going to be experimenting for you so you'll know exactly what you need specifically for an OEM plastic tailgate step plastic piece, and I'm gonna go ahead and figure that out right now. This is not the only way, but this is one of the ways that you can determine the grip on the rivet that you need. So the metal right here is the same thickness all around. So what I'm doing is taking the plastic piece and I'm putting it right up against this edge right here, and then I'm going to take any one of the rivets, place it right here, so the bottom of the top portion of the rivet I'm going to put right here, and make sure it reaches all the way to the other side. But you do want to make sure that it's got some of the grip remaining. You don't want the end of the grip right here where the ball is on the pin. You don't want that to be right at the very end. Yeah, you want some excess, because that part right there is going to mushroom to lock onto the metal, and if it's too short, it's not going to hold. So in this case, this one is probably just right, and this one is a 1/4 inch grip. It's a 1/8 inch rivet, 1/8 diameter with a 1/4 inch grip. I didn't point this out originally, but if you don't have any experience with this, you may not know, but the majority of times when this piece does come off, the issue is with this edge right here. Not so much this edge, because I just have it sitting on here right now, but normally it's pretty flush all the way across. But you typically don't have an issue with it getting ripped off this way, because you do have this big hump or lip right here that doesn't allow it to get picked up. But here, when you put stuff in the back or you grab something out, it's easy to just grab it and rip it out, or you put the tailgate down, you put stuff on it, and you rip it off from here. Never really too many issues from here. You don't necessarily have to put rivets on this side, but in order to keep it consistent all the way across, you might want to put several rivets across the back side here, and then also across the inside here to keep it in place. My next step is going to be determining where I want to drill those holes, and some may be off from other ones on the opposite side, so it may be different over here than over here, only because the rail, the handrail to go up the step is over here, so this one may be off from that side. The big thing is making sure that your rivets are spread across to keep it nice and flat. All right, what I've determined are there are 7 spots that I could potentially put rivets. I may put them in all of these spots, the most important being this inside edge, but it's really hard to put anything up in here, so I'm gonna put one here, one here, one here, one right where the button is, and then the same pattern on this opposite side. You're going to have to drill your holes with the plastic piece on the metal in order to line your holes up properly. You don't want to put holes in the plastic first and then the metal, because then it's going to be impossible to line it up. So I'm going to use a 1/8 inch drill bit and drill the holes, and I've got my first rivet right here. I'm not going to just drill all the holes right away. I am going to ensure that the rivet is going to fit. Kind of tight. But let's see. So the important part with checking this is the opposite side to make sure that it mushroomed enough to hold the plastic piece onto the metal. Not 100% sure what these plastic pieces are here. They do feel like they're hollow inside, and on the underside here it says no step, but I think these are really just a bumper so that when it slides into the actual tailgate, it kind of forces it to go where it's supposed to. But I did drill a hole there, put the rivet in. Unfortunately, this is a blind rivet, but I really do need one on the outside, and that's the spot to put it. Something else is, I think I mentioned it, but when you put this on, make sure it's nice and flat. One of the issues you're going to have is those two plastic pieces that go on the nylon fasteners will cause this to hump. So you may want to cut those off or get them to go over the plastic retainer so that it does lay flat. Mine's going to hump right now. I'm going to remove the nylon fasteners, put them back through the broken pieces of plastic on this cover just to get the hump out of it. I removed the nylon retainers right here, and you can see where when this piece got torn off, it tore these. I did glue them back together at one point, but you can see they're pretty mangled again. And then I think because they've been sitting wrong, the plastic has warped, so it's not laying flat. So what I'm going to do is add a rivet here and a rivet up here, and you got to be careful. You don't want to put it too high because then you'll just skip right over the top of the metal. So you want to put it close, but still have enough of the plastic to keep it in place. And you can see how if you put a rivet on it, it'll hold it down pretty good. Don't put a rivet, then you're going to have this hump here all the time. And at this point, the nylon retainers, these two pieces right here, aren't going to do anything because they're completely split open. I decided to go with two rivets right here, so I've got one here, not putting the nylon retainers back in. And because I put those two there, I'm not going to put one there or there because it would just be redundant. But we got one there, got a hole started here, or a hole completed there. I'm going to put one there, and I put one there. So there will be 4 on the top, and the good thing is I don't have to put it on this raised ridge right here on this one or this one. These are all recessed some. And something else to note when you're drilling, if you can set the depth of your drill bit, make sure you set it to a very short distance, because what I just learned myself is that when you're drilling, what'll happen is my bit broke, because when it broke through finally, there's a metal piece that's curved underneath, and because it plunged in, it snapped the bit in half. So if you can set the depth of your bit, you might want to do that, or just hold it so that it, once it breaks free, it's not going to plunge in and snap your bit. But that's what happened to this bit right here. To make sure you get a more flush spot for your rivet to go in, you may want to remove some of the plastic hump that's created by the drill bit. Otherwise your rivet is going to stick up even more. I didn't mention it earlier in the video, but this rivet gun right here is another tool from Harbor Freight. It does come with 3 different plugs for your rivets for different sizes. So I've got 4 rivets on the top, evenly across. Don't necessarily need any on this back side here because I have one in this way and one in this way, so it's holding down this portion. It sits pretty flat. You can, I may need to find, actually I didn't drill a hole for it, but I need to put one more rivet right here because you can see this is where it's clapping, but the rest of it is nice and flush sitting, so I just need to put one right there, and then that'll be it. Just for aesthetics, what I'll do is I have a piece of cardboard that has a cutout in it, and what I'll do is place it over the rivet heads and then get some flat black paint and just spray it a couple times just to get it to blend in. It doesn't have to be on there, but I think it'll look a little bit better with the rivets black rather than silver. Here are the measurements for reference. This one is 3/4 of an inch in from the edge to the center of the rivet from the side. And then just know to put it in the center of this little recessed area right here, and then you should be good. And then here it's going to be, just put it in the center once again in the recessed area, and then from the side it is 9 3/4 to the center of the rivet. And then for this one, center of the recessed area, and then almost right up against the edge of this part right here, centered on the button. And then your measurements are going to be the same for the opposite side. For the rivets here on both sides, you don't want to get too close to this hole right here, so just look for this little rib right here and go about 1/8 of an inch in, and make sure you get enough of the plastic. This is what I use to cover the rivet heads. So I've got this piece of cardboard, and I punched a hole through it with a Phillips screwdriver, and then made sure that it was flat on the back side. And then I use this paint and primer, black flat. It's a flat black. And then I just place this over the rivet. This hole is bigger than the rivet because if you make it the same exact size, you won't get all of the rivet head. So made the hole slightly bigger so that the paint gets the entire rivet head. And you can see here, these are painted. Got a little overspray on that one, but other than that, they look pretty good. And that completes the job of getting this plastic piece on the tailgate locked down, and hopefully I don't rip this off, but it is still quite possible since I've done it so many times before. But this is more of a hopefully permanent solution.